Welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC, where we dive into the inner workings of the conference, the stories behind the stats, and the prestigious awards that make the NEWMAC a powerhouse in Division III. We'll celebrate the academic excellence of our student athletes, the incredible leadership of our coaches and administrators, and break down the path to becoming national champions. It's a lot to unpack, and we're here to do it. It's time to Unpack the NEWMAC.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unpack the NEWMAC. My name is Lindsay Colbert, and today I'm joined by MIT cross-country head coach Riley Macon and student-athlete Christina Crow. Welcome, Riley and Christina. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Lindsay.
So, obviously, an exciting time for you both, coming off a national championship. Amazing job. You were ranked top seed for most of the year, but to pull that off must have been a great feeling. And we will certainly get to that, but I really wanted to start and get a little bit about both of your backgrounds. So Riley, obviously, give us a little bit about your backstory and how you ended up at MIT.
Yeah, so I've been running for pretty much all of my life. I grew up in Minnesota, ran at the University of Minnesota, and knew I wanted to coach from a pretty young age. I was fortunate to have, a relationship with the previous head coach at MIT, Halston Taylor, and some great life circumstances led me out to Boston. My now wife was living out there, and I really wanted to be a lot closer to her, and so it kind of coincided that I was moving out to Boston, and there was an opportunity to be an assistant coach, a volunteer assistant coach at MIT under Coach Taylor in 2018, and I had the time of my life working with the group, and when it came time for him to retire, he reached out and had mentioned that there may be an opportunity to coach in an interim basis, and this was actually during the COVID pandemic, so the future of was kind of up in the air for who'd be taking over, and in my own journey with coaching, so it's sort of just coincided with. It was pretty fortuitous, and I guess the rest is history.
So you've had a great run so far. Christina, how about you? How did you end up at MIT?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be an engineer from a really young age as a career. And so I knew that if I got into MIT, I would go here. It just seemed like the perfect fit for me as someone who ran in high school, but wasn't necessarily looking to run Division I. I was recruited by the past coach, like Riley mentioned. I was the last class recruited by Coach Taylor, but I did have one call with Coach Riley, and I knew just from that one call that the future of the program was in really good hands. So, I knew if I got in here, I would go, and I got really lucky that worked out. And now I'm a senior, so this was my last cross country season. So I couldn't have imagined a better way to go out. So,
I think Christina, you were maybe one of the first 2 or 3 people I actually called when I first started.
Really?
So
I remember the call.
Yeah, I remember it very, very clearly. So, yeah.
Well, it certainly worked out. Obviously, Riley, I mentioned that you've had a great run. That includes a national championship on the men's side in 2022.
Yeah.
Christina, I believe you were a sophomore that season.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little question for both of you. Did that kind of light a fire for you to kind of do it Christina, for you, and obviously Riley on the women's side, obviously seeing the men do it, was that a little bit of lighting that fire for you?
Yeah, Christina, you start.
I mean, a little bit for sure. It was like definitely first taste of winning something big. But this I think is true for a lot of people on our team. It felt like we were part of that as well. Like, I remember being just as excited for them as I was for us this year. So I don't know if I necessarily thought about winning this title until honestly more recently, I think. But it was very exciting 2 years ago. And I think it set us up well. We knew we had good role models to follow after that. So,
yeah, for me, from the coaching perspective, we always try to, in a sport where, men and women, train at the same time and maybe they're doing different workouts, but it's sort of one culture. Want to make sure that, back in 2022, everyone felt a part of it. So while it was the men's team winning, I do know that, the 7 guys who were on the line really did feel like the women were a part of it, and vice versa for this year. So I think in a lot of ways it felt, because we all owned it, maybe that barrier was broken down for everybody. At the same time, these two teams are the 22 men and the 24 women are very different in terms of personalities and what each group brings to the table. So even though they had good examples of, hey, we can do it at MIT, they had to do it in their own way.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously you're training together. I'm sure you're running out there together a lot. Having a men's team who is so successful, I'm sure only helps to improve the women's squad as well. Is that the case?
For
definitely.
Sure. I mean,
yeah.
The culture is, it all comes down to culture, and it's culture is cyclical. And when you have a great group of women on the team that, runners tend to stick together and socialize a lot together, it feeds the other team. Back in 22, I know that the passion that the men brought to the course, it really kept running exciting and lively for the women's team. And this year we have a pretty young group of men who are seeing what these women have done, this year after 2-3 years, a pretty dedicated effort. And that's going to inspire them 3 years down the road too.
So Christina, you are the lone senior. I believe there's 2 graduate students. So were you expecting this year to kind of take on more of a leadership role than you have in the past?
So this is my second year being captain. And Riley and I just talked about this recently. This season, I didn't feel like I needed to lead as much, if that makes any sense. The team really, there's such mature athletes, people, students. They make it incredibly easy to be a captain on this team. So, yeah.
I'll brag on Christina a little bit. So we had a young team this year, but we had a really young team last year. And, a lot of freshmen and sophomores towing the line at the national meet. And when you're coming into a pretty successful program and you're a freshman expecting to be on the line and have such a significant impact on the program right away, it can be scary and anxiety inducing. And so a lot of the emotional support fell on Christina's shoulders last year. And so much of her energies, they were spent on making sure that everybody's just doing all right and knowing that the sport isn't something to be feared, and helping foster growth within the younger runners. And so while that was really taxing at the time and could be mentally exhausting, 1 calendar year later, from the outsider's perspective, everything flowed so much more smoothly because of the leadership Christina invested a year ago. It sort of pays dividends a year later. So it might have been ever so slightly easier for Christina this year because of the work she was able to put in a year ago.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Obviously, you did a great job continuing that culture. So, obviously I mentioned a few minutes ago that really for most of the season, you were ranked the top team in the nation in the coaches poll. So obviously the coaches saw something special in you. At what point in the season did you 2 think this could be special? Like this could be it?
We might have 2 different answers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I think, so we started being ranked number 1 after pre-nats. And I think that was a really exciting race. Everybody was, I think we just did a lot better than we anticipated. And that was really exciting. But we didn't really talk as a team about nationals too much until like 2 weeks before. which was definitely intentional, trying to keep that off the mind. The coaching staff made sure of that. And then, yeah, I don't know. I think my teammate Heather Jensen said it best on another podcast. She said it's a very different thing being ranked number one and winning. So we tried not to associate those things too strongly.
So for me, my dad actually reminded me recently that after our men won nationals 2 years ago, right, like pretty much immediately afterwards, I said, I think our women are about 2 years away. And I don't remember saying that, but he reminded me of that. And so I know that with this group in particular, it's been in the back of my head for a while. And last spring, people were running at a level that it just, it starts to go from the back of your mind more towards the front. It's like, this might be a possibility. And at the start of the year, really, when people showed back up to campus and I could tell the consistent work people had put in, not just physically, but mentally, the place people were in. I remember talking to my wife just several times of like, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. So the main thing I just tried not to do is talk about it too much throughout the year. And really it was just in the last little bit of the season, we actually started verbalizing some of those things.
So you get to NEWMAC championships. You've won 16 straight. You head into this year's championship. Do you ever feel pressure? Like you don't want to be that team that doesn't win at this point now? Is that ever kind of hang over your head?
For me, no. I mean, we don't want to think in that way. If we're doing our jobs and we are being consistent and we're focusing on the big picture year after year after year, we'll be in a position where we can compete at the highest level. The one thing I'll say is one thing that's particularly exciting is the NEWMAC is getting much, much stronger in cross country. So while we had a great NEWMAC meet scoring 16 points, and this, I don't mean this to be, that was a particularly special performance from us because there are some really, really good runners in the NEWMAC. I don't think that was because the NEWMAC was missing any talent or anything like that. I think we just happened to have a particularly special performance. And there were so many great NEWMAC runners at the national championships doing some awesome things. Other All-Americans. Certainly say that to say, like, if we keep doing our job, it's not something to be feared, but the NEWMAC is definitely getting stronger. So, yeah,
we really enjoyed the NEWMAC meet this year. After the season, we were reflecting on some of our favorite races, and NEWMAC was definitely up there because of how special of a performance it was for us, but also it's the last meet of the season where our whole team races together, which means a lot to us. So,
yeah, I was actually going to ask you that, Riley. Obviously you come down, you have a roster of 20, so you have to start making some decisions. You head into the East Region Championship. It's really, you guys, again, you've won now, I believe 4 in a row. And that's a great race for you to win because that gets you an automatic qualification to the NCAA championship. But, at that point, what's your decision-making process? How are you selecting those runners who race in that race? And then again, for the national championship. Championship.
Yeah. So really for the regional meet, it is, hey, what's going to give us the best performance at the national meet? Being able to win a regional championship is awesome. And you can't win a regional meet. It's going to be really hard to win a national meet. And at the same time, because we had a team that was really deep, we were able to have folks who wouldn't necessarily be the top 7 on the line at the national meet run on the regionals to provide a little bit more rest. And then a little more rest to those who would be towing the line the next week. Really, it's about who's going to have the highest ceiling at the national meet. And you can't win national championships without taking a few risks. And those who are able to take risks and have high ceilings, that's who we're going to go with.
Certainly, it speaks to the depth of your program. Christina, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you did not race in the East region, correct? So
Yeah.
how important was it to you to have that rest heading into the national championship?
I think it made a big difference. So I'm very grateful that we have the depth that we do. So I was able to just not race that weekend and prepare for nationals. But I think it made a big difference.
Awesome.
And I think that's where depth really does come into play is, we didn't win nationals by a lot, and being able to have 10, 11, 12 women who can perform at such a high level, and really a whole team of 20 women who are deeply bought into the mission, it gives us opportunities to provide a little extra rest to Christina or one or two others that other teams without that level of depth might not be able to have. I mean that's where depth really does win championships.
Do you feel, Christina, as a senior now, you need that rest even more?
Maybe a little bit, yeah. It was I love to race, and since my cross country career was coming to an end, I definitely was a little disappointed at first when Riley told me I wasn't. He was thinking about resting me, but it was definitely the right decision. I needed it.
Well, it certainly worked out for you in the end. So we get to November 23rd, NCAA National Championship. From a runner's perspective, Christina, what's your pre-race prep? What's the day look like for you?
Well, I try to sleep in as long as I can, so there's not much time before the race. But the days in advance of the race, I feel like make a big difference as well. We got out there pretty early, so we were able to kind of settle into the hotel, spend time with teammates, run not on the course but around the course. So I felt so. This was my third national meet for cross country racing, and it did feel different this time. Maybe it's because I'm older, but it just felt like the team was more kind of a calm confidence, I would say, about the race. So it was special.
How about you, Riley? What's your coaching prep?
So I don't get nervous for the race itself. If I get nervous or anxious about anything, it's all the preparation work in advance. It's okay. Logistics really. Did we get the food ordered on time? Is it going to be where it's supposed to be? Hey, we've got midterms to proctor. Are we doing these on the right time? So, truthfully, my own pre-race prep, the race itself, the prep for that is the 3 months in advance. When we're actually there at the site, it's sort of, it's almost a great stress relief that we're actually there. We get to do this thing. And it's not that we know what the result's going to be, but just the confidence that we've done every last bit of work we can do. So, I don't know. There's not too much prep other than just like pure logistics.
So I think a lot of people probably maybe haven't attended a cross-country meet. From a coaching perspective, I've been to a few, and coaches are all very different. Some coaches, you can see them basically running with their team, and at least like at the last push there. But what are you doing during the race?
Yeah, so I don't know. I have two thoughts on this. Where it's if I have to give really clear coaching advice, if it's a change of plans or information that they weren't expecting, then we haven't done our job in the advance in the 3 months in advance. There's only so much coaching you can actually do in the course. Really everything that occurs happens between the ears. It happens in their own minds, in their brains. So a lot of what I'm doing is trying to provide encouragement. It's maybe little bits and pieces of information, but it's helping give any amount of boost to their own psychology in the race. The more confident I sound out there, the maybe that rubs off a little confidence in them. And I try to see them as much as possible. And I try to find spots in the course that are quiet. But there's just not that much I can do once the gun goes off to change the outcome, other than maybe just giving just a tiny little bit of, the 1% extra boost. But the rest, 99%, it's them.
So Christina, let's talk a little bit about the race itself. So obviously a great last race for you, ended up an All-American. So congratulations. Can you talk us a little bit through that race and what was in your mind during that 6K?
Yeah. So we went out kind of fast, which looking back, I think played out in our favor. And Riley and I just debriefed my race yesterday. So I just talked about this, but since I went out fast, it was definitely, and I think a lot of us were feeling the pain pretty intensely from like 4K till the end. And I know Riley just said that he likes to be in quiet spots, and he put himself in a really, really great location with like 800 to go, right before you go into the finish chute. I think the race outcome was very much decided in that last 800 meters. So, yeah, for me, it was just thinking about the fact that it was my last race. I wasn't going to not give it everything I had. For me, I'm very motivated by seeing my teammates and seeing them succeed and running with them. I had the opportunity to run with both Rue and Lexi throughout that race. And then I watched Rue have the race of her season, the race of her career, which was so motivating to see. So, yeah. So
it was a very tight race. Certainly wasn't a runaway by any means. Riley, how closely are you keeping track of finishes? Do you know? Like, at what point do you know?
I definitely didn't know because so the last time I saw them was about 500 meters to go, right before they turn into the long home stretch in Terre Haute. And at that point in the race, we had been leading most of the race. And at that point in the race, University of Chicago had passed us. And usually you don't, in our sport, once you start to lose a little momentum, it's really hard to gain it back. So I mostly resigned myself to, hey, that was a hard fought second place. It's going to be close, but I think we got second. And it took until, I ran all the way down to where the finish was. And it took until I found my wife. And I was like, I think they got us. And she's like, I don't know about that. Look at the scores. And as it started counting up, I started realizing, oh my goodness, like our women just had about the best last 400 meters I've ever seen any team. And it was hard for me to believe at first because I know that the live scoring isn't always accurate right away, but it did start to dawn on me within a few minutes that we'd actually done it. And it took until, another, some journalist, said, congrats, you guys are the winners. What do you have to say? And that's when it kind of sinks in.
Yeah.
Was it similar for you as well, Christina? When did you?
Yeah, we also thought we got second for many minutes after the race. We even had our little post-race huddle at the finish line and talked about how proud we were of our performance and that even a second place is so much beyond any goal that we had for years prior. But yeah, it took until either the reporter or some of our teammates that had driven all the way from Boston, like 15 hours, that were checking the live results. They let us know. And that was just an amazing, amazing moment.
Yeah, the team, they drove like 15 hours to get out there.
One way to get out there.
Yeah, 15 hours there, 15 hours back. There were how many? 15 of them, Christina? 16 of them?
Yep, something like that.
And I guess they were the ones that they started chanting MIT, MIT. And that's when I think we really started to, catch on to that. Okay, no, I think we actually won.
So describe that feeling. What was that feeling like when you knew for sure?
It was amazing, especially since, thinking that you got second, being very proud, but then it being such a surprise like that. And like I said, being and Heather said, being ranked first is a different thing than actually winning, because there's so many things that can go wrong or different. Or UChicago had a great day, and so yeah, it was amazing, and to celebrate it with all my teammates and coaches was special.
Absolutely.
There's just from a personal gratification standpoint, there's such an awesome feeling of like thinking you can do something for a long time and putting all this work into it, and charting a path that you think is the best, most optimal route to get there. And then for it to actually work out, it's an incredible feeling. And even if we had gotten second, even if it had been a close second, knowing that's like, hey, we really did put our best foot forwards. It's just cool when it really does work out.
I know. Yeah, it was amazing. I was, I think, at like one of my kids' friends' birthday parties. We were just like, I was, scrolling through like Instagram, and I saw that you guys had won, and I was like showing it. Look, MIT won. So
Awesome.
it was exciting for everybody. So we were so proud of you. It's always exciting when the NEWMAC teams go out and represent so well. Riley, in 2022, you won. You got to do a little trip to the White House.
Yeah.
See anything like that in your future?
Yeah, I think we did. We'll get a couple of letters from some folks. I don't want to spoil any surprises for Christina, but
yeah, I don't know anything.
yeah. There's going to
Block
be
your
some cool
ears
things for us. Yeah, so there's surprises in store. The one thing I can tell Christina is we will get to go out to Fenway, get on the field, and so we do have that plan, which is cool.
Oh my gosh.
That's so awesome. So happy for you. That was such a great race. Christina, you mentioned that was your last race. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so some indoor and outdoor track. And then it doesn't end. But I'm also very excited about that, because it's an opportunity for all of us to run more of our individual events, but still have similar team atmosphere as cross country. And then I'm probably going to be doing a master's degree at MIT. Fingers crossed. Applying here soon. So I'll be around. I don't have any more eligibility, but yeah.
Assistant coach.
I was going to say, I think we're going to be keeping Christina around as long as she's going to be here. We'll keep her around.
Awesome. So obviously, I know you both want to enjoy this championship for as long as you can, but I'm going to ask the question, Riley. Young team this year.
Yeah.
Are we looking at back-to-back?
It's definitely the goal. We can do it. It's hard to do, but we can do it. It's just a matter of keeping people healthy, keeping people focused on the right things, and just keeping the cultural ball rolling. It's a really special group of people, and we want to continue adding to it. So we'll see in a few weeks here what our incoming class is going to look like, and we'll give it our best dang shot.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations. We're all so proud of you, and I'm sure
Thank you.
You have a lot of celebrating ahead of you. Keep us posted on everything coming your way. We'd love to tune in and see you at Fenway for sure. And I'm sure you have some other fun surprises planned. So congratulations again. And I want to thank you both for spending some time with us and chatting. And, we'll keep our fingers crossed for back-to-back, Riley.
Yeah. Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks so much for having us on.
Thank you.
Thank you.